Hello friends, glad to have you here. My name is Yash from Fun at the Table, and I'm really excited today to be talking about Scout and why it'll be fun at your table. Scout is a small box card game published by Oink Games and designed by Kei Kajino. Do not judge this game by its size. It is packed with game. Quite literally, it comes with so many components. I'm going to be doing this in 3 parts. So the first thing I'll do is I'll give you a brief overview of the game and the rules. I won't go into too much detail here. I'll put a link to a video from another creator who goes over the rules in more detail. And the second thing I'll do is I'll talk about why this game will be fun and who it'll be fun for, so you can figure out if this is something you should buy. And the third thing I'll go over is a review of the game. I don't like to review games on a linear scale. I think games deserve more than just a single number. So make sure to stick around for that. Scout is a competitive card game. And so you win in Scout by making the most money by putting on the most dazzling shows using your best performers. And your performers are represented by these cards. And these cards are very unique. They have 2 numbers on them. You can play this game with 2 to 5 players, and you play as many rounds as the number of players at your table. Whoever has the most money at the end of the game wins. On your turn, you have to do one of 3 things. You can put on a show, which just means playing some cards to the center of the table. You can scout a card, which means pull a card from the center of the table from someone else's show. Or you can scout and show in the same turn. You have the potential to make lots of money by doing any of those 3 things. If you put on a great show and you beat another show that's in the center of the table, you can take that show and turn it into cash for yourself. You also get money if people scout cards. They take cards from your show off the center of the table, and you get money for every card scouted. Everyone is dealt a hand of cards with the entire shuffled deck. Note that some cards are actually removed from the game, depending on the player count. Putting on a show is really easy. You can either play a single card, for example, I could play this 2 to the center of the table, or you can play adjacent cards to the center of the table. The rule with adjacent cards, though, is they either have to be matching, like this 1-1, or they have to be sequential, for example, this 5-6 here. And the sequence, the order does not matter. For example, the 6, if it came before the 5, that's okay, you can still play it. And as long as they're matching or a sequence, you can play as many adjacent cards as you want. A really interesting thing about Scout is you can't change the order of the cards or the orientation, which number you want of the cards, through the game. You can only do that once at the start of the game. So you get to make a choice between the numbers at the top or the numbers on the other side, which are also conveniently represented right below that. So this card here is a 1 and a 2, so I can make a choice all at once, so I can say I want all the numbers on the other side instead. And you only get to do that at the start of the game. And then you're stuck with it. So let's say the first player put on a show with 2 5s. The next player can also put on a show, but they have to put on a stronger show. And the way you do that is first look at the number of cards in your show. For example, a 2-card show is going to be better than a single card show. For example, a single 5 is weaker than a double 5. The second thing to look at is the type of show it is. For example, this one is matching sets. Matching numbers will always be stronger than sequences. For example, if this 8-9 was played, a 5-5 is actually stronger than the 8-9 because it's a matching show. The third thing that matters is the number itself. So for example, let's take this 8 and 9 here. A 3 and 4 would actually be a weaker show here because the numbers, they're matching. They're the same number of cards, so it's a 2, 2, 2, and 2. And they're both the same type of show, but this show is a stronger show because the numbers are higher. Same thing with this 5-5. For example, if there was only 2 cards and there was another matching set of cards, for example, this one here, this is obviously weaker than the 5-5. The second thing you can do in this game is scout a card off of someone else's show. So I could scout this 5, either 5, or the 1 and the 8. Because when you scout a card, you're taking that card in any orientation that you want and placing it wherever you want in your hand. So let's say my hand looked like that over there. I probably want to take this 5 and place it right here and make a sequence of 2, 3, 4, 5 to play in a later turn. I could also scout this card as an 8 and turn this lone 7 into a sequence. So now I have a 7-8, a 2-3, and a 4-4 to play. When you scout a card off of someone else's show, they make money. So the first player here makes money for every card that gets scouted off of their show. When you beat a show with a better show, for example, 5-5 beaten with a 2-3-4 because there's more cards, then the show that you beat turns into money for you. The last thing you can do in this game on your turn is a scout and show in the exact same turn. So if you scout and show, you can do this once per round. You basically take a card and then show immediately after that. So I'm going to play a 2, 3, 4, 5 and take this 5 as money. You keep playing till someone runs out of cards, or if you put on a show so good that no one was able to beat it and only scout it until it came back to your turn. A big tension factor in this game is that any cards that are left over once the round ends count against you. So, for example, if the round ended, someone else ran out of cards and the round ended, and I had these cards left in my hand, this is -4 against whatever money I've accumulated. There are a lot of fun things about Scout. It takes 20 to 30 minutes to play. Setup is really fast. It's so seamless to get the cards distributed and play. I love that it's great at common player counts. 2 to 5 players, a very common range. It's great actually between 3 to 4 players. Again, a very ideal range for most games on game nights. I love that it's a small box. It fits in my collection so easily. I love that the box comes with everything you need to play the game. It comes with these little tokens where you can keep track of the score round by round, which is awesome. You don't need a pen and paper or app or something like that and get all fiddly. It's a competitive card game that's fast and it feels very rewarding every turn. There's always some kind of move that you can make every turn or build towards something better on later turns, which is awesome. I think Scout is a great introduction for kids into more complex games. Really, Scout is just a numbers game, and there's no suits or anything like that. And so you could use this as a stepping stone for more complex games like Hearts, for example. For people who are familiar with playing card games, this could seem a little alien. Again, there's no suits. The numbers have 2 numbers on them, so it could seem a little strange. But on the flip side, it could serve as a good segue too. So if you like playing card games, you could think this was fun as well. In Scout, you end up with sometimes negative scores per round, and that might not be great. If people don't like the idea of negative scores, you might not like that. Something to just be wary of. Usually scores kind of mostly are close together, even at all player counts, I find, and you don't have to worry too much about like a runaway lead or anything like that. It's pretty rare that that happens. It's very unique because, again, every card has 2 numbers on it. I've never played or had a card game like that. The fact that the cards themselves not only represent 2 numbers, but they also represent money is really cool. The fact that when you beat a show, you take the entire show and turn it into money and just take that in. It feels very rewarding to do that. When you when someone scouts off your show and you make money, that feels very rewarding. There's 2 ways to get to the same win condition. Both of them feel really good. And all of that is kind of held together by this amazing tension of building a stronger hand. You know, you start with something maybe mediocre and you try to make your way towards building a stronger hand, putting on shows, making some money, and building a stronger and stronger set till you go out with a bang. And that tension of getting to that point, but at the same time doing it quickly before someone goes out with a bang before you, or someone completely runs out of cards. That tension is brilliant and so fun in this game. I think it fills a space in my game collection for that exact reason. I don't have a card game like that, and I don't have a card game like that that gives that kind of tension, which is awesome. Before we press on, If you'd like to see more content like this, please like and subscribe and throw in a comment down below if you have any thoughts at all. I rate games differently at Fun at the Table. I want to make sure you get all the information you can by looking at a rating and knowing whether the game is the right fit for you pretty quickly. I consider 3 things in this graph: interaction, immersion, and cognitive load. Usually the lower the cognitive load, the higher the luck factor. This is how I rate Scout. It's great for people who love thinky card games. It's great if you only have 20 to 30 minutes to play. And it's great if you or your group loves a good amount of rewarding interaction. Let's talk about immersion first. I give it a 1.5. The theme of the circus and the players scouting and showing, it really fits the mechanics. I think it's really fun. It's cool that when you put on a show and you beat a show with a better show, the cards that you're doing that with, it just makes sense. When you take a card off of someone else's show, you really are stealing. You're scouting that card off of that show and using it for your own show later down the road. And it totally makes sense with the mechanics. The way you make money in Scout is very immersive. When you put on a great show, you make a lot of money. You make money by beating a show, but also by having your performers scouted. When they get scouted, you get money as well. They're paying for your performers. Not another player, but the game is paying you for your performance being taken away from your show. Make sense? I think the artist did a great job with the cards themselves. I think the numbers are really easy to read. I like that the 2 numbers on the card are just on each side, and it's really easy to just have your hand kind of fanned out like this and have an understanding of all the cards at the top and all the cards at the bottom, which is really nice. I think each one of these cards, there's a performer's name on them and the kind of performance they do in your circus. That information is fun, but not very relevant to the game. I also think it's kind of hard to read, so that part isn't great. But if you think that's kind of fun and interesting, you can pay attention to it. If not, again, just treat it as a numbers game. Let's talk about interaction. I would give this a 2, which is great for a card game. The plays and the money that you're able to make are actually heavily dependent on the people you're playing with and the number of people you're playing with. You could keep track of the cards that people are picking up, their scouting, and that might give you an idea of the strength of their hand. You should probably keep track of the number of cards everyone has, because you need to kind of keep that in mind to know that the round end is probably coming soon. The downside I find with this game is sometimes the plays, the money that you're able to make kind of depends on the people adjacent to you. Sometimes specifically the person who goes before you. If they usually play a weaker show, you have a higher chance of beating that show outright and making a ton of cash. There is no exchange of money between people. Scouting gives you money straight from the bank of the game. Beating a show makes you money. It takes away the other person's show, which kind of sucks. Again, sort of a negative interaction, but it's really easy to bounce back from that, right? But again, when you make that money, that score, that cash that you make, you're not really spending it on anything. It's just score for the end of the round. So the interaction, there's a little bit of interaction there. When someone else scouts off your show, you get a reward for it, it feels really nice, because again, it really depends on the people around who are playing with you. But when someone beats your show, it doesn't feel great, but again, you will always have the opportunity to do that as well. 2 other aspects of interaction I really like is the fact that when you're putting on a show, a great show, and you beat another show that someone else put down, and you maybe saw that show coming, it feels really good. It also feels really good when you've been kind of keeping track of what people have picked up, and when they put it down, you scout that card off of their show, and you use it to build a better show and make a bunch of money later in the turn. And the last thing, cognitive load. I give it a 2.5. It's a fairly thinky card game. Making that choice between scouting, showing, or whether you want to scout and show for the round is very tricky. Timing is actually really important in this game. It's a good mix of tactics and strategy, I find, which is really, really fun. Tactics is making decisions given a particular situation or context thrown at you. Strategy is making decisions about like the longer term given context. You're sort of planning the long term because everyone starts off with a mediocre hand. The fact that you can't rearrange your hand or reorient your hand, and you can only do that once at the start of the game, it's a big equalizer. So most people will usually end up with kind of mediocre hands, and they'll have to build towards something better over the course of the round. Like, for example, just take this hand, for example. I have a 2 and 2 there at the end, potentially, but I do have to get rid of that 1 at some point, and playing that 1 is going to be a little difficult. Or I can just play the 1-2 and end up with a dangling 2 maybe that I can build later, later in the game. And that's just how hands sometimes end up. So there is some potential if you can get rid of weaker cards somehow, and you'll end up with stronger shows. So you're usually working with things like that, and that's where the strategy comes in, which is also fun, right? It's fun to kind of look at hand and see the potential and kind of build towards something over the course of the round, which is very interesting in this game. The tactics come in when you need to react to what people are scouting and how many cards people have. Because if people are starting to trim their hands down, you're going to have to speed things up. You can't take as long to create the most ideal hand. So maybe just put down shows that you can't afford to wait and build up so you can make some money when you can, or get people scouting off of your hand, off of your shows, so you can make some money before the round ends. Another tactical play that's very valid could be taking cards that are kind of dangling in your hand that aren't necessarily that you can play as a set or a sequence, and making it a set or sequence just so you can get rid of it faster and still make some money off of it. So really, I think the best play, and again, this isn't the definitive rule, one of the best tactical plays is maximizing the earning potential of every card in your hand. Or wait to scout a particular card. Maybe a particular card got picked up in a previous turn, and you know that card is going to come down in a future turn, and you really need it to make your show and make a big play. Maybe you need to wait for it. Maybe you need to scout this card now because there's lots of turns left. You can see that everyone has a lot of cards, and maybe it's safe to scout now and build something better right now. Or maybe you just decide, I need to shed as fast as possible right from the get-go so you can give everyone a negative score. That could be a strategy too. So showing to beat another show of the same size, I find, is usually the best outcome. Showing to make money off of scouting is a little less rewarding. I find like scouting is just, someone scouting your show is just a bonus on top of like beating a show outright. So I really try to focus on if there's a 2-card show, I beat it with a 2-card show rather than beating a 2-card show with a 4-card show or something. Try to match up those evenly. So usually in my hand, I like to spread the kinds of shows that I have. But that's just one strategy. I'm not saying it works. It's just there's so many little things, so many little strategies you could take. Again, both tactically and more in the long term, which is very fun in this game. The tension in this game is also really great, right? Do you scout to build a better hand for later, or do you just show and capture that money right now? How many cards do people have left? Again, you really have to have a sense of that. Is someone going to go out soon? You have to be very adaptable that way. That tension is very apparent throughout the game, and this is frankly where the cognitive load comes in. So you have room to do the tactics, you have room to do the strategy, but you always have this tension underneath that's kind of making sure you're pulling one way or the other, which is really fun. One issue with the game, though, I find, is that the rule that ends the round when everyone else scouts off your show, it's a little unintuitive because, and it might be unintuitive to a lot of people, because you're incentivized in the game to actually build a strong show. Building a strong show is how you get more money, but I guess not so strong that it ends the round before you have had a chance to make enough to catch up to other people. For example, if you're behind and you're really relying on making a good show to make a bunch of money, it doesn't always work out. So really the better way to go is having a bunch of kind of strong shows that you play over time. So playing a strong show, taking a moment to scout and build the next better show, and playing that as soon as it's ready instead of spending too long on it is usually the strategy. So the faster your turn rate, the faster you're able to show, scout, and immediately build the next great show, and scout and keep repeating that process, the better off you'll be. And sometimes it might not be very intuitive to most people. I find doing that long game, it kind of the round ending factor kind of limits the long game. Really being able to create a really great hand at some point, not spending a lot of time getting that, but usually putting that effort in, it would be nice to be rewarded. And so I find that specific rule a little unintuitive, but still, if you kind of go with the more tactics heavy approach, I find it's really fun that way as well. And that's a wrap on Scout. Thank you for watching. Here's where you go from here. There's links in the description below to the Board Game Geek listing and the Board Game Oracle listing. Board Game Geek is a website where you can kind of get into the community aspect of board gaming and learn more about the game. And Board Game Oracle is a website where you can find out where to buy the game and how much the game costs in your area and make a watch list and things like that. It's a fantastic website. I just found out about this website this year and I absolutely love it. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more content to see more of my content in the future, and comment below on any thoughts that you have on what I've said so far and about any content you'd like to see or any games you'd like me to cover in the future. I would be happy to do so. I'm happy to reply to your questions as well. I'd love to see you down there. Until next time, bye!